Hello and welcome back to Dutchman Seb. So without further ado, let's take a walk through the build and see what we have in store for us over the next couple of weeks. All right, so day 3, Don has been hard at work here today. He's got quite a lot of progress done today, I might add. So let's go through and see what he's done. So the engine bay is starting to look like an engine bay again. We've got the main wiring harness here with the fuse box. We've got the brake booster now attached with a new clutch master cylinder. We've got the ABS block back on there again. We've got some heating lines coming through here from the interior cabin heater. We've got an accelerator cable coming through here, which means that we have some pedals on the inside. So let's go around and take a look inside there. So there we go, we've got some pedals back in there again, accelerator, brake, clutch. Then we've got the interior cabin heater unit back inside and the bar for the steering column. So that's going to allow us to put the steering wheel in next. Some of the bars here for the steering column still going to go in. Handbrake cables gone in. And you saw yesterday the subframe went in. So there's the fuel filler neck that's come in as well. And the stabilizer bar at the bottom. It's been reattached. So you can come and look around here. You can put fuel in the car now. So there we go, that's all good and dandy. The trunk's been added the middle center light. We've also added in all the rubbers. So you can see there's rubbers, and then you've got like some adjustment on the rubbers that you can adjust the height for the trunk. So that stops there quite nicely, and that height is all uniform all the way along the trunk. So it gives you a real nice seam on the edge there as well. And then with the brake light over there looking really good, so we still need to put locks in there and some rubbers for some seals. So it's getting there. It looks like a little bit of work, but it's actually a lot of work to get these units in. Around the cage was quite a struggle. We actually had to cut out some of the room here on the dashboard bar that goes around the back of the cage to give us some clearance to get in there. It was really a tight fit. You can see there's some harnesses coming through. We've got the cable connected in here to open and close the heater for the hot water to come through into the heat exchanger. So yeah, small things that you don't normally see behind the car, but big progress. So you can see parts here starting to fly off the floor and back into the car. So there's still quite a lot of little pieces that have to go in. Like I said, 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. So let's go over to the board and let's see what we can sign off for today. So we've got the brake booster, ABS block, wiring harness main. Let's see on the second page. Here we go, brake pedal. So we've got a lot of interior components there as well. Let's see, interior. This is the kachel, so that's in, which is the cabin heater. So we found a solution for the reservoir. We need a US or JDM spec. So it looks like that the windshield washer fluid reservoir is smaller in the US. That's about it for the list. Like I said, it was a very short list, so it's not at all detailed as to what has gone in today. But I'm happy with that progress, so stay tuned and let us know if you have any comments about what we did, and hopefully you've done it in the correct order. Often you find you have to take things in and put it back in again several times until you realize, oh, this had to go in first actually. So yeah, that was it for today. Oh, we also put in some heat shieldings. for the exhaust. Some of the lines for the brakes have also gone back in there for the clutch. So yeah, just some small extra stuff. So we got the front end on again, the crash bar, crash beam, and the bumper support bracket. I had to have a little bit of drilling to get the holes to line up, because the holes are just a little bit off center, and they've all been nicely powder coated, so no more rust on those parts anymore. New bolts again as well. So the front end's starting to come along. The lines for the ABS and the brake booster have been cleaned up and gone on. One of the lines were a little bit too rusted, so we need to get a new one of those. Got a new master cylinder here for the clutch. And then the rest of the wiring harnesses are going to go in today. So that's the plan next. Alright, we're back with day 4 of the rebuild. And let's check and see what progress we've made. So starting with the list, we have added on some items here for the engine parts. So let's see, we have done the engine service, including valve adjustments, water pump, oil filter, gaskets, valve cover gaskets. We've put on the flywheel, we've put on the clutch, we've replaced the release bearing, we've replaced the pilot bearing on the flywheel, we've installed the knock sensor, we've installed the start motor. We still need to put on the alternator and the gearbox. So the gearbox we need to clean up before we put on. The engine is now mounted to the subframe. Let's see, engine hard race mounts have been installed. OEM control arms with new hard race bushes have been installed. The hard race camber kit still need to go onto the chassis. Steering rack spaces, okay, hard race, so this we can install now. The steering rack is ready to go back onto the subframe, and we need new tie rod ends for the steering rack. So let's take a look and see how that looks. So here you can see we've repainted the steering rack, given it a nice fresh coat of paint, so some aluminium silver paint with some black painting. And then we're going to replace the tie rod ends because the threads here are quite damaged, so those are going to be replaced. Then we've got the knuckle here, which has also been nicely painted, so that's all been nicely refurbished, and that's ready to go back into the subframe. So as you can see here, Don has dropped the engine onto the subframe, and he started installing all the wiring harnesses. And then at the back side you can see here the ACT clutch heavy duty that we've now put onto the engine block. Starter motor's gone in, and you can see here the new release bearing. And then around the side here you can see there's the new knock sensor which has been installed. We've got some hoses from Mission Motor, the silicone hoses which have gone on, so those look really nice with the blue that complement the build. The hard race engine mounts which have been installed now to support the engine brackets onto the subframe. We've got the control arms installed with new hard race bushes, new bolts which have been re-galvanized, and adjustment plates for the camber adjustments. So that's looking really good. That's ready to go into the car soon. We still need to put on the alternator, and then we're good to go. So we're very few bolts left over, and it's looking pretty tidy up here. So next to go is the bump steer kit for the steering rack. So that goes onto here, and then the steering rack can go on, so that basically lifts the steering rack up to support a lowered vehicle. We've got the coil unpacks that need to go back in again. The EGR channel at the back here is being cleaned up, so that's ready to go on. We've got a new manifold coming, so we've got a Skunk 2 Alpha Series header which is going to be arriving soon hopefully, and that's going to be installed here to give us that beautiful look. And then yeah, all the seals and all the gaskets have been put back onto the engine. So yeah, we've got the alternator going back on soon, and then we can put on the front hubs and the air-co pump so we can still run air conditioning in the car. So next task here is to clean up the gearbox. It's a bit oily and a bit greasy, so I'm going to take it outside and just give it a bit of a cleanup, and then we can put those on. So these are all the bolts that are left over to get back into the car. So we're slowly but surely getting through all the parts here, and it's looking like a car. Alright, so the gearbox is cleaned up a bit, degreased, got a new pilot bearing that was damaged, so it's looking good again. Steering rack is now fitted to the front subframe, so it's got the nice new hard race spacers for the bump steer kit, so it gives it a bit of extra height, and that's now fitted nicely in there. The control arm on this side still needs to go in. We're waiting for the bolts to come back from the galvanizers. Alright, we're back for day 5 on the rebuild, and let's take a look at the list and see what we managed to achieve yesterday. So Don has installed the hard race camber kit on the front. He's installed the D2 Racing coilovers. The tie rod ends from hard race have just arrived, so we can install those on the steering rack. Let's see, we have managed to get some headlamp brackets as well. Those have gone onto the car, and then we've done the interior steering column went in as well. Interior dash needs to go on still. Seats, doors, I've done 1, so I'll show you how that looks. 1 to go, and the locks I've also done 1, and then we need to put in the windows, so that's still to go. So starting with the door, you can have a look and see here's the carbon fiber door. So I have transferred everything over from the original door onto the carbon fiber door. It's quite amazing quality how they make these doors. Every OEM hole is more or less on the door. A couple of them had to be re-drilled to be lined up correctly, but you can see, like, from the rubbers to the stoppers to the locks to the aligners to the rubbers, to all the bolts, things for the regulator for the window, to the locks, the handle, the speaker holes. I mean, everything as you can think about, the wiring harness, it all has to go over. There's about like 50 different pieces that just goes into the door. So every single little guide for the window, for the regulator had to go in. I had to drill a couple of extra holes for like the drainage, so that the door can drain if there's water getting in there. Copied over all the pieces for the clips. So now you can see a stripped old door, and this is now completely removed. I put some new clips in for the radios because those were impossible to get out. Every clip was an absolute nightmare to remove, but you can see there one completely stripped door. Don has fixed up the wiring here in the front where we had the accident. So this front left side here had damage from the accident, so the wiring here was all a big mess. Luckily Don had a spare regulator here, for a relay here for the evaporator, I think it is, and then some headlamp wiring here as well, so he's fixed up all of that. You can see the OEM sway bar and the hard race end links have gone in. He's also assembled the front knuckle and the hard race camber arms with the beautiful D2 Racing coilover set. So you can see here we've also got the hard race extended ball joints there previously installed on the knuckle with our ABS wheel sensor. So that looks beautiful. You can see how nicely the purple D2 Racing goes with the purple from the car. And we've got 36-way adjustable dampening settings, beautifully new galvanized bolts tying it all in. Don's also put in the AC line, so we have nice AC coming in as well. So that needs to go to a new evaporator and a new condenser, so we need to put a new unit here in the front. And then on the inside of the vehicle, we've got the windshield wiper motors that's been installed. So that's new from Don's stock because ours was not available. And then inside here, not much has changed. We just managed to get this unit fixed up and tied up for the AC because it was not aligned correctly. Now it's all aligned. The pedals have gone in on the other side, so you can see the pedals are now fixed. Steering column has gone in, so we now have a key, so that's now really cool. So we have soon steering. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We started doing some harnesses, so you can see here some harnesses for the rear. So we've done the trunk. We've got the locks in here for the trunk. You can see there, locks have gone in. Lights for the rear tail lights. So you can see there, that's what it looks like now with the rear tail lights. So it's starting to look real good. Starting to take some shape and form. And I'm getting really excited with the way this looks now. You can see the rear also with the D2 Racing coilovers looking super good. And I'm just really excited for the way this turns out. We don't have a big brake kit for the front, so we're going to install the original brake kit that I have repainted. And the parts you can see on the floor starting to disappear slowly but surely. A couple of small bits and pieces. main accessory harness inside for the ECUs, and then our radiators and some of the trims for the rest of the car. So we're getting there, and I think some good progress for today. So stay tuned.